Okay, I got an intimation from my team that we are live again. The number of lives on our channel has gone down definitely, but we definitely make sure that we come up every time when we come up with a live, uh, so that it value adds to the kind of content that you're looking forward to from us, so that it makes you feel like your hour that you're spending with us is of value. And for that, again, I have a webinar for all of you guys, which we have titled as what is the kind of requirement that the industry has. This time around, we're talking more about what industry is looking forward to. We have done this through videos, we have done this through webinar, we have done this through Instagram posts that we have done, and you all probably know why it's so important. And we are going to talk about the kind of profiles that these schools are interested in, so that it becomes easier for them to get a good job for you when this winter ends finally. To do that, I have with me today Alessandro Giuliani. This is a familiar face when we talk about the B School circuit. Alessandro, welcome once again to Inside IIM. And the people who are watching you, looking at you for the first time, give them a context, a quick context as to who you are and what they are going to listen to from you today.
Thank you, and thank you. Always happy to be here. Been a valuable friendship, more than partner for the last many years. At least the years that I've been here in India full time, which is now 13 years, since the inception of the Asia Center of SDA Bocconi, which I've been launching in 2012, and I've been managing since.
Lovely. And along with Alessandro, we have Sandeep Ranjan here. Sandeep is the head of corporate relations and career services at SDA Bocconi Asia Center. Sandeep, welcome. A very good evening to you. And tell us, our audience, what do you have in store? How are you going to be of help to them today?
Thank you, Paul. Nice to be here, and hi to everybody. I'm Sandeep. As Paul mentioned, I head career development services and corporate relations at SDA Bocconi Asia Center. Have been working in SDA Bocconi Asia Center for almost 4 years now. I'm here to answer some of the queries with regard to the industry job market for MBA graduates, given my prior work experience across top B schools in India in campus placements. So looking forward to the session, Paul.
Great, lovely. And as Sandeep mentioned, he's here to answer your queries. So if you have any queries, if you have questions, do tell us in the comments box. We have received quite a few questions as well while we had put up this post that we are going live today. We are definitely going to take some of those questions as well, and we are definitely going to take some of the questions that you will be asking during the course of this webinar. Without wasting any time, Alessandro, my first question would be coming up to you. We constantly hear about profile based admission. It's not score based anymore. A lot of these schools are looking into profile very seriously. What exactly has been the shift in recent years in the profile based admissions, and how do you think it has done any better to the MBA landscape, in your opinion?
Yes, it's a very dear question for me. We have been saying profile-based since year one, and we've been believing in that since year one. And this makes a lot of sense because, India is changing fast. The world is changing fast, but India is changing even faster than the rest of the world. So we see every 6 months a unicorn coming up from a sector that didn't exist before. We see sectors that disappear. So for sure, you have to be strong in your fundamentals, in your quants, because that's the base to run a business. But it's no more the age where you had models and you had to plug your business into that model and then run it accordingly. Models are not keeping up anymore. And so you have to be able to think differently, think out of the box. You have to be able to adapt to different situations. You have to be able to have communication skills that for me go beyond the pure talking. It's be able to understand what the market is telling you before it happens, and then be able to tell your teams what to do exactly for them to understand. So all these qualities are fundamental. In the end, they are what the companies are looking for right now, attitude more than actual skills. So that's why since the beginning, and we also come from a different country where all the soft side has been evaluated a lot for many years. Coming here, we realized that students were extremely strong in quants to the extent that in the algorithm, the test results you had to adapt to India because students are too strong.
Yeah, we are the land of Aryabhats, Alessandro. We have invented zero.
and other things. I mean, you see, it's the backbone of the world. Quants is in India, working 24 hours a day. So we had to raise the bar there. We realized we could really give a lot in the rest. So keeping a certain standard in the quants, for sure, in the entrance test, CAT, and so on. We have been looking for students that have done multiple activities in extracurricular, multiple interests, doing sportsman state level, or have been performing arts, things like that. Because these are the people that have developed or are potentially ready to develop their soft skills. So for us, being able to identify more 360 profiles like this is very important, because it's what the world is looking for and what the corporates are looking for at the time of placement.
Right. And Sandeep, what is exactly corporate looking for right now at the time of placement? Have you, you definitely have yours into what people are talking about. There is technological shift that's happening. There's automation coming in. There is artificial intelligence in probably every JD that you will be floating to a lot of students. So what are you hearing from the market?
See, obviously, technologies are changing over the period of year. There are new, models coming up, new technologies coming up, and students have to adapt. That is one part of it. But typically, when a company comes to a campus, there are two parts of hiring which happens. The two parts of aspect in the hiring of students. One part is the basic attitude of the students. Another parts is the skills or the functional or the industry knowledge the students are coming with. Companies believe that skills can be trained. Students can gain knowledge over a period of time, but attitude is something which they mostly look for in a student. A student with the right attitude can unlearn, relearn, upskill themselves, can acquire any kind of skill and gain the knowledge if the student carries the right attitude. So that's the foremost of the hiring criteria of corporates. And obviously, then there is a fitment. They look at the kind of subject knowledge they have, which they can incorporate in the corporate world, the kind of functional knowledge they have. In totality, it's kind of the credibility or the kind of usability the students bring on the table. That is what the companies are looking at. But the most important thing is attitude.
Correct. And keeping the current context in mind, like we all are talking about, like last year, placing students from these schools became a huge challenge. And I'm sure that you have also been part of this challenge. You've also seen that happening. With respect to that, a lot of students have seriously reconsidered whether they should be taking up such a plunge or not, whether they should be spending so much money in a degree like MBA or not. Has that subsided in your opinion, or do you think that that fear is somewhere still there in the minds of students?
But for sure, fear is there in the minds of students. But I always say, when this happens before you take up the MBA, you have to be lucky, because that never lasts more than 1-2 years. So by the time you finish your MBA, there will be the bounce back. And so it will be better than before. So you should be happy if this has happened. Indeed, it's this year is tougher. But as we're talking with Sandeep at the beginning of the placement season, we said, hey, the world is slowing down, not India. So all the companies that are in contact with the world, they will slow down. So IT consulting will be slowing down. Let's focus on those sectors that are more India centric. And in fact, I must tell you that for sure it's a bit slower, but our average has gone very much up this year. That is a tough year. So it's a question of sector. India is growing. India is growing madly. There are certain sectors that it's unbelievable how much they're growing. Other, like IT, because of the rest of the world, have slowed down. And anyway, even those already, the forecast is that in less than 12 months they will start hiring. That's the forecast, widespread, and then they will have the bounce back. So lucky you that you're joining now.
Right. Sandeep, I am really interested in knowing that what the brief was from Alessandro this year round when you actually started with this process, and how did you go about, reaching out to these companies saying that, we have the talent that you probably will need, and that needs a lot of convincing, right? Because anyway, purses are tight for a lot of companies, and you have to probably put in extra effort. How is that?
So obviously, as Alessandro mentioned, we knew that there are certain sectors which are going to be slow. While those sectors the numbers have gone down, but they have still come and hired from our campus. But the idea behind starting of the season was to identify the sectors which can hire. And obviously, IT and consulting obviously traditionally have been one of the largest, in a few of the largest industries hiring from the campus. But the world doesn't end there. There is much beyond IT and consulting. And as Alessandro mentioned, every 6 months you see a unicorn growing, coming up in India. There are startups coming from the industries which you could never imagine. And so it was a question of identifying the opportunities. And what we targeted was about the sectors which is going to hire. For example, BFSI is one sector which continued to hire in the same way. You look at the retail, fashion; these are the industry which have been hiring every year, and this year it has been, the numbers have not gone down. Then we focused on the startups which are in a space which is which is extremely interesting for the students. For example, SaaS-based companies who have just started in the market, they have been looking to hire in big numbers while their dependency on the global market is there. But then the market is growing, so the need is there, and they are setting up the business in India. So the idea was to reach out to more companies and reach out to the sectors which are hiring right now, rather than thinking about the sectors which are not hiring, because that's
Right.
easy to come out and say that these sectors are not hiring and we are not able to get the companies for hiring the students. But we wanted to focus where we see there is a market which is there is a sizable chunk of market and it's growing. So that's where we focused upon, and we are seeing that things have been better for us in terms of average, in terms of median, in terms of the kind of the companies, and the roles have been coming. So we hope to close the placements on a high, which will be, the figures would be better than the last year.
Right. Sandeep, is the report out yet? Can we tell our audience to go have a look at these numbers somewhere, or is it still due for now?
So, we are planning to come out with a interim report very soon.
Right.
But there are certain numbers which I can share right now. Our highest package has been around 33 lakhs so far. Our median has been 13.66, which has already been high when compared to last year, which was of 13. We While the placement process is still to close, we expect to close the average package. We expect to close somewhere between 14.5 to 15 lakhs per annum. So that's the kind of figures which we are looking at. However, we will have a short report being published very soon.
Super. I just wanted a clarification on that because I wanted our audience to have a look at it if they really want to. But I am going to bring both of you back to the importance of a good profile as we started our conversation with. For both you, Sandeep, and Alexander, I want to understand this. if you are making a selection basis the profile of particular candidate, not purely looking at the scores in different entrance exams that they have, is it easier for you guys to find jobs for them once they are done with their 2 years, once they have studied in the particular area that they want to study and kind of upskill themselves in your institute? Or in general, it doesn't really matter?
So,
I would say that sorry, you
yeah,
go
yeah,
ahead.
Alessandro, please continue.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. So, as Alessandro was mentioning at the start of the conversation, traditionally Indians are known for the quants, and if typically if you look at any of the entrance exams which we have for MBA program in India, focuses on three areas. That's quants, then it's the communication part, which is English, and then there is a logical reasoning. So, while the basic criteria of bonds and the regular selection criteria, we do filter them students on the basis of that to a certain extent, but as our largely focus, we are focused upon the profile of the students. When the companies come to hire, most of the companies, when they want to eliminate the students from the process, then they use these techniques, the aptitude test, for them to be eliminated from a process. But what we have seen with our experience, most of the companies, they look students for what they bring on the table in terms of their attitude, in terms of their soft skills, which we are very good at, in terms of how they are able to implement their theory, which they have learned in the class, how they can implement it in the corporate world, what kind of knowledge base they bring in terms of functions and the sectors which they are trying to enter into. And that's where our students have been different. And when we do profile-based selection, we look at the areas where the students can be a good value add for the companies. So, while the traditional selection criteria is being used by other campuses, we have found more success by profile-based selection of the students.
Right.
The companies, they offer the kind of roles, the kind of salaries they give to our students are either at par or better than other campuses who have been following the more traditional approach in selection.
Right. Yeah, Alessandro, you want to add something on this?
No, I think it was very clear what Sandeep said. I can say that it happens more and more frequently that companies do look at the not the curriculum, at the history of the students and see if they have had more experiences, interest, passion. Even top companies use that as a filter, and several companies use that as a filter on the CV scanning. To put on top of that, in those companies, and generally speaking, those students perform better for sure in the interview, and much more even when they join the company.
So, Alexander, let me ask you this. We all talk about CV spikes. Once somebody gets into a B school, this CV spike became more and more important. They always look for some opportunity or the other which will make their CV look better, right? Once I'm not there, and before I get into a B school, how do I work on my CV spikes? What are the kind of things that I can actually put in my CV so that I have Alessandro's eyes fixated at me while I am sitting in front of him so that I can drive the conversation and he can ask me a few questions?
But there are two things I would say. You're talking about our interview or overall for the career?
The selection process in general for B schools, why CV spikes are important.
Yeah, I always tell the students, be smart. Don't put 25 things. You're a kid. Sorry to say that. You cannot be expert in 25 things. So we know that, number one. Number two, it's typical the question, looking at the CV, I see someone that is an expert in scuba diving. Okay, tell me something more about that. So if you put 25 things, you will not be an expert. I will pick, and if you are lucky, I get the right one. If you put one or two, there are very good chances that I will ask you something where that you are good at. So this has two positive effects. First, that you know your stuff. Second, which is extremely important in interview, you are more calm because you know your stuff. So put only the things that are interesting. We use the CV a lot for the interview. So be sure to know everything on what you write on the CV.
Yeah. Sandeep, from a perspective of somebody who's an employer, what do people look for? So now that I'm selected in a B school, now that I am done with my 1 year, when I'm not 1 year, 3, 4 months when I'm waiting for my summer internship, and then when I'm waiting for my final placement, what are these CV spikes then for me as a prospective student who wants to become a professional?
See, what we believe, and this is something which we have inculcated in our L&D, initiative which we run for the students, which helps them in preparing for the selection process. CV is their first communication with the recruiter. Even before they are able to talk about themselves, the CV talks about themselves. So we do put a lot of effort in the resume building exercise. And what we largely focus upon, what has to be done during resume building is that you have to look at the JD carefully, the JD when the company floats. You have to look very carefully and try to identify a few keywords in those JD which can be related with your profile. And when I say profile, it can be anything right from their education, their past experience, if the student comes with experience. In SDA Bocconi Asia Center, on an average, students do at least 5 to 6 internship projects. So there can be some keywords match, which will be there from their internship as well. So
Right.
as Alessandro rightly said, you can't be a master of all the skills. You have to focus on the skills which belongs to you. And that's when you try to create a match. Once the CV is shortlisted by the company, then it's up to you. How do you drive the interview process?
Correct.
One of the typical questions which are being asked at the start of the conversation is, tell me about yourself. And I believe it's a very important question. A student or any candidate during the interview process can drive and set the tone of the interview through that question. You can talk about what is there on your resume, but remember that recruiter has already gone through that when they have scanned your resume. What you talk during tell me about yourself focuses upon the areas where you want to talk more and where you are very strong. So there are two aspects which needs to be dealt with, and we as an institute, we focus a lot when we work on the in preparation of the students towards interview process, and we take a help of a lot of our alums, for industry experts, because they are the ones who sit on the other side of the table when they select the students from the campus. So there are
Correct.
multiple points where we try to focus upon, but originality is something which you need to maintain. You can't create something which is not there in your profile. You try to make the
Absolutely.
best out of what you have right now.
Absolutely. Alexander, you mentioned about attitudes, and that's definitely something that is important for anyone who is getting into a B school, because that attitude is something that will drive them home every time they will face a challenge in their lives going forward. But at this point in time, if I have to talk about skills or attributes or experiences, what are companies currently looking for from B school graduates, and how do you make sure that you create that individual who's looking at a job role that probably doesn't exist today, right? And this is a question that Sandeep, you can also, chime in once Alessandro has shared his thoughts.
Well, skills, you have to be strong on all the basic skills. Then for sure, there are skills that are growing in importance, in like analytics, being able to handle AI well. That didn't exist. And it also depends on the sectors, because if you talk about marketing, you have the digital marketing, the AI, and so on. If you talk about other sectors, there are other skills. So those are the basic skills that we teach in our curriculum very well, for sure. As you know, SDA Bocconi just be ranked number 3 in the world as a business school. So in terms of academics, all these skills are taught at very high level. And then attitude is a bit what I was telling you before. So communication skills widen it to the aspect of being able to capture from the market signals from the market of what is happening, what is changing, being able to react quickly, perceive those changes, react quickly, adapt to different situations, thinking out of the box. You cannot keep on applying the same models when a sector is totally disrupted. You have to think differently. So
Right.
react and think differently, connect the dots, and then again, communication skills and leadership skills in order to be able to drive the teams towards the new things.
Correct. Sandeep, you want to add on to this?
Yeah, so for companies, attitude, hands down, that's something which companies look at. As I said, companies believe that attitude is something which they can't train them for. Skills and other subject knowledge or any other knowledge can be trained by the companies when they come on board. But as when Alessandro started, he mentioned about profile-based selection, and he also mentioned about there are people who just fit into the puzzle and do the status quo, and there are creators.
Yeah.
Companies look for those creators who can think out of the box,
Hmm.
who are well prepared. They understand the company, they understand the industry, and they can do something different. Those are the students who stand out. So attitude on one hand, and students who can think out of the box. These are the two major areas where companies focus upon. The rest is something they can build upon.
Great, lovely. At this point, I'm going to remind the audience who's watching this live webinar right now that this is your chance to ask questions. I am definitely going to take questions from people who have registered for this webinar and wanted answers to certain questions in some time. But feel free to ask questions. Feel free to solve your doubts or queries. Anything regarding selection, anything regarding your profile, anything regarding the kind of selection fear that you have right now, or the choice that you are finding hard to make, which is whether you should be doing MBA this year or not. Uh, Moving back to our questions, moving back to what is happening right now worldwide, moving back to what is happening in the markets right now. Sandeep, my question to you would be, this is not the first time we're seeing markets like this. It is not the first time when economic downturns have happened. It is not the first time where jobs have been cut. Uh, Historically, this has happened time and again, and B school ecosystem has kind of adapted to this. Uh, what is different this time around, and how do you think this accumulated knowledge over the past is going to help you in steering course the batch that is upcoming and giving them confidence, saying that hey, it's okay. This 150 people who are going to come as part of this year are secured because this is going to happen in the next 2 years.
Yeah, as Alessandro rightly said, the turnaround is around the corner. It will definitely happen after a year or two for sure. So probably this is the best time to join an MBA program, because when that time period of turnaround is happening, you are in the process of completing your course, and when market is on the up, you are ready for the job. That is one part of it. Second part of it, looking at the market scenario currently, and it has happened in the past. I'm slightly old enough to see multiple recession cycles right from 2008, when we had the classic recession in India, the Lehman Brothers fiasco which happened.
Yeah.
Market has always bounced back. What the institutes need to do, and it's very important, because the moment companies become conservative, they are more cautious in their approach in terms of their hiring. It becomes an employer's market. It doesn't become an
Mm,
employee's market. And when it's employer's market, that means they are spoiled for choices.
yeah.
The demand is more, the supply is less. That's where you need to create the differentiator. So the students and the campus needs to focus more on creating the utility part of the profile. In terms of their preparation, there should be, the upskilling should be there on priority. They should look at creating the knowledge base around the function, around the industry. And as I mentioned, that companies look for attitude, look for creativity from the students. That's where the students should look at creating a difference during the interaction with the companies. because you will be pitted against another student. You will be pitted against students from another campus, and companies are spoiled for choices, so they will be trying to get the best out of you. And the most important factor for them to determine whether they want to hire you or not is the utility. So that's something which you need to work upon with regard to your preparation. But as again, once again, I would like to emphasize that MBA program has to be looked in a long-term perspective. It's not a job. Campus placement job is your first job. That's not your career. What you are investing today is for your career, which is going to last for decades. So that's the outlook which you should have. These are temporary phases which will surely go away. India is very strong. We are still doing better than the global market, and there is no reason why we would be in a better space in the coming 1 or 2 years.
Right. Alessandro, you want to add anything on this?
Nothing better than Sandeep.
Great. Sandeep actually has summarized this pretty well. And, I kind of had one question when Sandeep talked about it. Do you really think that, we are producing more graduates or managers than what is the requirement or demand at the moment in the market? Or do you think that it's the other way around? I'm talking about the overall ecosystem of the B school that we have in India right now.
Can I reply?
Yes, Alessandro.
I think we need many more good pass out. That's the problem. There are not enough. There are quite a good number of good business schools, but way not enough for what India needs. India needs thousands of very good managers, which means with strong skills, with strong leadership skills, being able to manage teams. For me, that's a manager. Okay, so India is growing very fast, and the need of good manager is huge. And the good business school, we all know what they are, and it's just a few. So absolutely, we need many more than we actually have, or we need more business schools to scale up, to churn out managers that can actually be global managers with all those soft attitudes that are badly needed.
Correct. Sandeep, there's a question. I don't know whether you would want to take it or Alessandro. You can. Mohit is asking, what according to you are the best modern day skills that companies look for, specifically in the finance domain?
I'll leave it to you.
Yeah. So obviously, when you look at the roles which come in the financial sector, the basic, the foundation is extremely important, and that's what companies look at. Your basic concepts, your understanding of the finance domain, the skills which are required for finance, that is something which is the kind of a non-negotiable thing. While on top of it, companies will look at the soft skills, but for example, if you're getting into a corporate finance role, your basic accounting concepts, your taxation concepts, your understanding of business finance, your understanding of cash flow, those are the kind of skills which has to be there. And then you can build up your decision making, your strategy on over and above that. Similarly, if you are getting into an investment banking role, if you are getting into an equity search role, your analytical skills plays a very important role apart from the financials, concepts which you need to understand. So finance is one sector where, you have to focus a lot on your skills along with the soft skills, like your, communication skills. And when I say communication, it's not about speaking English in a very stylish manner. It's all about effective communication, where you're able to explain your understanding and what you want to talk about. So you have to build layers. Your basic layer should be your technical concepts in the financial domain, and then you build up your soft skills, because that is non-negotiable for a financial role.
Correct. Manan Doke is asking, how do one decide which MBA stream to go for? And is it important for me to build my resume differently if I'm, applying for different MBA programs?
applying for different MBA programs.
As in different specializations. So, for example, if somebody is more keen towards finance, do they design their resume or CVs in a different way for it to be more effective? Is probably the question that is coming from Anand.
Yeah, so I'll answer the first one. Your, the specialization which you choose is purely driven by your interest area and aspirations. So while we, as a campus, we also help the students to understand the area where they want to be in. At times, students are quite confused. They are not able to understand whether they want to get into marketing or finance. So we run some certain assessment with the students when they come on board to understand where their interest lies. We do a one-to-one counseling to make them understand and also to guide them where they can look forward to. There are students who also, undertake multiple internship projects to understand where their interest lies. So, a student may start with a marketing. After a year doing 2, 3 live projects, realize that marketing is not something he wants to do. He wants to get into strategy or consulting.
Right.
Once that specialization is more or less confirmed by the student, obviously the CV building, is different for each and every specialization. The focus has to be the skill sets which are required to build a career in that area. So when we run our resume building exercise, when we do our functional, preparation for the students, we divide them as per their preferred functional areas, and we invite experts from those areas to help them to build their resumes and prepare themselves for the interview process. So to answer in nutshell for the second question, yes, the CV preparation, the overall preparation for interviews and the selection process slightly differs from one specialization to other specialization.
Right. Alessandro, Aman has a very simple question. How can I build my profile? There is no ifs and buts. He just wants to know how to build it from scratch.
How old is he?
I'm assuming that he's looking forward to do an MBA and he's a fresher, but I don't have a data on how old is he. Aman probably, if he's listening, he would be able to tell.
That's not an easy question. We have told you earlier what is a good profile. It's an overall with a lot of experience, a lot of passions, different interests. So if you're already on that path, is one thing. If you are not really on that path because maybe you are a 99.9 cat engineer topper, it's very difficult to reply like that. Try to fill the gaps in those areas where you're not strong. Now, before joining, if you're joining now, it's very difficult because for sure it comes out immediately if you write on your CV. If you start fitting in things that don't correspond to the truth, you're caught immediately in the interview and it's worse. So I will start thinking how to prepare for the final placement. So you have 2 years from now. And so based on what we've said, if you have been only playing cricket and dancing with bad grades, then focus more on your hard skills. If, on the contrary, you're a top engineer with 99.9 cat, focus on extracurricular activities, internships, live projects, participating in life, in club life, and things like this.
Correct. So it's basically what you don't have, focus on building some bit of that is what your message would be for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Also because you will have a more rounded profile, you have more options. We have 4 main areas of our personality, and normally if you're very strong, normally you're strong on 2, and sometimes you're very strong on 1, and okay on the second one, and the other 2 are not there. So focus on those.
Right. I have one more question from Romy Joseph, and this is for all the freshers probably who is listening to this conversation while we are on with this live or later on when they hear this. Romy is asking, I'm relatively new to this MBA space, and I want to know everything from MBA streams, colleges, What should I look for when I get into a B school? Um, should I be placing, my judgment basis the placement numbers that I see? How do I go about finding that right B school for me? Is there a one word answer to it? Is there a one stop solution for them where they can get the right kind of information? Do you also suggest Romy to personally visit a few B schools and try and figure this out?
I would say, all these schools now do webinars and meetings with the
Like this
aspirants,
one.
like this one. And so do take part in that, because there you understand, more than the placement and the things, you understand the culture of the B school, and which is what will make you enjoy the 2 years ride in that B school, uh, which in turn will reflect in good performance. And I think that's the most important thing. Talking about which stream, MBA stream, an MBA by definition is a general management program. So there's no stream, MBA stream. So choose a right one. In terms of understanding what is your stream of specialization, maybe that will come. Don't. Normally, students are very anxious. They don't know what will be the specialization, which job they will go for. So the first year in all the MBAs is a general management year where you touch all the different areas of management, and you do a lot of life projects, a lot of activities. Like that, I can assure you that by the 9th month that you are in a B school, you are very clear where you're strong at, where you have
Hmm.
fun at, and where you will be so successful at. Even those, half of the students normally, they know perfectly well what they don't want to do. 80% of them will change their mind after 9 months. So don't be anxious. I know people are anxious, especially the freshers, but it will come by itself very easily.
Great. Sahil is asking, he's interested in business. He's interested in building his business, but he's interested in MBA as well. So which are some of the colleges or institutes that he can look forward to if he's a resident of Mumbai? Um, I mean, you can keep aside your partiality for your own B school, Alessandro and Sandeep, and give advice to Sahil, or it's a moment for you to pitch your B school to Sahil if that's the case.
I keep aside my partiality and I say SDA Bocconi Asia Center. We are heavily invested in entrepreneurship since our inception. We were funded by an entrepreneur, the largest retail entrepreneur in Italy, the founder of Rolarina Scente, which is the historical department stores. And since then, we've only been in Milan city center and now Mumbai city centers because we believe in entrepreneurship. We have a huge, not only incubator, but a platform where you have an incubator, where you have free services for the company. We incubate some 30 startups from the students every year. From the moment you're a student till you're an alumni, you can sign up and being an accelerator in this platform that gathers also to VCs, investors, services, and everything. So we strongly believe in entrepreneurship, and Italy is like India, strongly based on SMEs, so entrepreneurs, and our skills are very strong in that. Without being biased, I would say SDA Bocconi Asia Center. Then don't ask me to name others. They are
I'll not do that.
biased.
I'll not do that, Alexander, for sure. But I'll move on to the next question. Krishna is asking, Krishna is an engineer. He has an engineering background. He wants to know what are some of the certifications that will be required for him to do an MBA program. Is there a necessity, or does that add something to your profile with respect to you getting a good B school call, or with respect to getting further jobs as well?
So it definitely adds, getting certifications do help in acquiring certain skill sets which are important for the career they choose to get into. But it would be very difficult for me to generally tell about the certifications because I don't know what kind of what specialization he has done in his engineering, what kind of aspirations he has post his postgraduate program. It's a function of what you want to pursue and what you have done in the past. And that's where the profile building lies in between. So you have done something and you want to be something. So you know what are your strengths and you know what you need to build. That's where you build by doing internships, building your profile, doing some certifications, doing other activities which may be important, which will exhibit the kind of skill sets which are required. So it's specific individual to individual depending on the aspiration.
Lovely. At this point, I just want to remind the audience who's watching this webinar, or later on, whoever is watching this, the deadline for SDA Bocconi Asia Center is very close. It's ending on 22nd March. This is what I have been told by the team. There is a link in the comment box as well if you want to know more about these programs at SDA Bocconi Asia Center that this particular preschool offers. Do click on that link and get to know more about this. We are at the final leg of this particular webinar, and I'm still open to taking more questions from the audience. There are a couple of questions that are left from people who have asked questions, and there are a couple of questions that I have that I want to ask these two. I am going to go to the next question, which Navya has asked. Navya has asked, saying that should we wait and get work experience or join as a fresher? I think this is one of those questions that you will get in every webinar that you do, and probably rightly so, because it's a decision-making time. You are making your mind whether you should opt for 2024 or you should, go ahead with the job that you have, work for 2 years, and then try your luck. What are your opinions?
Okay, so
I know Sandeep's opinion is very biased.
It's a quite a difficult question to answer in the sense that it all depends what you feel is the right time to pursue the program. Some people are confident enough to take a break, have some experience on their profile, and then come back and do the program. And some people feel that they want to continue with the education before they jump into the corporate world. What I can tell you from the perspective of employer is that an experience always helps. People who come with some amount of experience, they come with a different perspective. And when they have already seen what happens in the corporate world, and especially with the sense of the business, like you have been into a company, you know how the business runs over there. And when you come to a classroom and you understand the theoretical part, you go through the case studies, you go through the projects, you go through the assignments, you are able to correlate and you are able to understand those things much better. And then the combination of what you have done in the past as experience and what you have acquired as knowledge, skill set during your 2-year program is something which is liked by all the companies. So experience will always help, but I would suggest students to more go by what they are comfortable with. If they feel that they want to continue the education and then they want to get it in the corporate world, there's nothing wrong about it. And if you feel that you should gain some corporate experience before you dig deep into MBA program, then obviously that is also quite acceptable. So follow your instincts, whatever you feel right for your profile, do that.
But based on your experience, Sandeep, what is the overall feedback that you get from the larger industrial ecosystem that you are part of? Like 1 year is always there for you. You're hearing the kind of things that they are saying. Do they prefer freshers? Do they prefer people who have certain amount of work experience? Do they prefer people who have these certifications that we just spoke about and knowledge about something extra than the academic knowledge that you probably provide in your B school?
Obviously, all of these things which you have spoken about does help. Companies do prefer with some amount of corporate exposure. And in that case, a full-time experience is always welcome because the student is a perfect mix of what happens in the real life world and what goes in the classroom. So that student comes with a distinct advantage. That's the reason why we tell the freshers, especially people without experience, to add more onto the resume through live projects, because that is also some kind of a corporate exposure for the students, a real life exposure for them. Skill sets, more than academic value, it adds to the practical value of the student. If it's there on my resume, if I say that I have done a certain certification course in Google Analytics, I have done something in digital marketing, the confidence for the recruiter is that this person comes with a knowledge.
Right.
The CV shortlisting you will be able to make it through. But if you are not able to correlate your certification with your knowledge, then you will fall flat. So it doesn't come with an academic value only, it comes with a practical value, which you have to exhibit. But yes, it definitely helps. Skills are always important. And the more you upskill yourself, you stand a better chance amongst all the other students.
Correct. And Alessandro, I know for a fact that this question will make you happy. And this is something that SDA Bocconi Asia Center very proudly speaks of as well. And I'm talking about the international exposure that it provides. And we are talking about a time in 2024 where everything is global, right? Like we are not looking at markets in silos. We are not looking at microeconomics in silos. Everything is connected to the larger ecosystem of business that we're looking at. Keeping all of this in mind and the times that we're living in, how does then this international exposure becomes important for students that you are trying to provide with your mothership that is in Italy? And how do you think it has evolved over the years, and what is the accumulated knowledge that you have gained in these many years running this program with the kind of facility that you provide to students, and them coming back and telling that this has really transformed in the way they have thought about business?
Global exposure is important for many reasons. First of all, now it's a global world, so it goes by itself. So being able to understand different culture, different perspectives is extremely important. And I see how our students perform better, especially in those companies that are multinationals, and how normally they're the first ones to be sent abroad because they understand different cultures. Already here in Mumbai, we have 85% of the faculty is foreign faculty, and they are from some 12 different countries. So believe me, a faculty from Germany teaches in a very different way from from Greece, and an American one from a Spanish one. So being able to see things from different perspectives, different approaches is extremely important. Then when you go and are part of assignments or group assignments, like they happen to be in Milan, 8 people from 6 different nationalities, there the fights, but also the learning are amazing. So being able to work in a multicultural environment is extremely important, because nowadays most of the companies either have multicultural teams, even sitting from across the world, but multicultural teams, or they're selling abroad, or they're buying abroad. So that's absolutely there. Then coming back to those soft skills, it opens it broadens your mind, because again, it helps you to see the things with different perspective, different mindsets, and that alone broaden your mind and helps your soft skills. Right. So I think it's fundamental, and as rightfully is being pushed by the Indian government, it should be more and more. We receive so many requests from Indian schools to do some immersions in our Milan campus.
Right. And Sandeep, as Alessandro was mentioning, do you see that while you talk to prospective employees as well, because this experience is something so unique that people in your institute go through, does that help you in getting them placed in the kind of roles that probably a lot of B schools suffer to do?
In fact, just before coming into this webinar, we were having a meeting with a multinational firm, and we were talking about this only, where SDA Bocconi students stand out for them because their career progression is beyond, people join in the Indian market and then move to the global markets, including their head office. And that's where SDA Bocconi students make a difference. And we believe that the reason why they're able to make the difference in the organization is because that 4 months they spend in Milan. Trust me, you have to be in the campus to see the transformation amongst the students. It's not only about the education part. It's also about how to learn. How do you live in a country which is alien to you in terms of the culture, in terms of the
Right.
habits, in terms of interacting with people from so many countries, faculty from so many countries. So it's not only about the challenges about the education, it's also about all the personal aspect of the student, which make them strong, they make them more adaptable. And that's where when the companies are looking to send some of the students, some of their employees whom they have hired from the campus, they want to send them abroad. SDA Bocconi students are probably more ready than any other student. So it's not about us, it's about what we hear from the companies. And in fact, we completed that meeting and Alessandro was part of that meeting. So there can't be a better example for that.
Great. And we have almost come to the end of this particular webinar today, Alessandro. Sandeep, let's sum it up with both of you actually talking to the people that we have, the community that we have, about their next 2 years that they are going to spend in any B school possible, and how should that look like for them to have a long lasting career and the impact that they can have with the education that they are going to have. And also, let this be your last message before you close your doors this year for the admissions, which is happening on 22nd of March. Over to you, Alessandro, and then Sandeep, you can conclude.
I always say these are 2 magical years that you have in your hands. So for sure, study hard because it's important. It's part of the formation of your character in doing things in the best possible way. But in these 2 years, we give you a platform that you will never have in your life. A platform of network across India and across the globe, of possibility of interacting. And believe me, anybody replies, even CEOs of big companies, to students from an international B school in India. Okay, so make use of this to do the maximum possible number of live projects, research activities, and then be as active as possible in the clubs. We've done a lot of clubs, and we have decided to give full responsibility to the students in the activities, for sure, supervised, but full responsibility and freedom. That, at the end of the 2 years, gives you a boost, a strength in leadership skills that is unique and makes you ready to go and work in a team and take lead of the team. So make the most of all that you're given. This platform is once in a lifetime, and it will never happen again. Then for sure, the semester in Milan, if you go to SDA Bocconi Asia Center, is once in a lifetime occasion to travel across Europe with friends, and that's quite unique also.
Great. Sandeep, last words.
Yeah, I'll just add on to what Alessandro said. Focus more on the journey. These 2 years are extremely important for you. It's a wonderful experience to study, in SDA Bocconi Asia Center. We are unique in many ways, and this is something which is going to stay with your life forever. Outcome or the end, placements is an outcome of what you do in these 2 years, and it's going to happen for sure. Students should always remember they are investing for a lifetime. They are not investing only for these 2 years. It's a long journey. What you do in the next 2 years is going to define or determine what you are going to be over a period of time. So that is something which they should be more important. They should enjoy the journey. It's not going to come back again. So it's extremely important to take advantage of what SDA Bocconi is offering to them.
Great. Lovely. Thank you very much, Sandeep. Thank you very much, Alessandro, once again for these nuggets. I hope that whoever is watching this or will be watching after this live webinar is done on our channel finds it helpful, find some answers to the questions that we wanted to solve for, and hope that they make the best of the 2 years that they spend either with you guys or anybody else that they want to. And I wish all the very best to both of you to have a cracking cohort this time, a great batch to place as well for you, Sandeep. And I hope that the markets also turn up so that your job becomes easier. Guys, whoever is watching this, as I mentioned again, 22nd March is when admissions are closing. So do take that opportunity and learn more about this institute by clicking on the link in the description. Thank you very much once again, gentlemen, and have a great night.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank
It
you.
was wonderful interacting with you and wishing all the best to the audience.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.